Okay, our next presenter get over here, by the way, is Liz Hargraves from Lincoln Elementary.
Hi, good evening. I'm Liz Hargraves from Lincoln Elementary, and I'll start with the first slide. What have we accomplished? Maybe nothing if I can't get it to go the second slide. Where's, use the arrow. Thank you. Okay, my first slide is I just have a collection of data from 4 years. The top 2 years from 2013, 2014 testing was before I came to Lincoln. Then the next two, 2015, 2016, is during my time. And in the first part of it is about student achievement. And in reading, if you go to the first column straight down, a 53, a 53, and then 2015 a 54, and 2016 a 58. Not a lot of improvement, but by golly, we're trying. The second one in math, you had a 52, a 41, and then in 15 to 56, and last year a 59. Still an F, but we're getting much closer to a D, not far. What hurt us the most, well, it did hurt us bad, was science and social studies. If it wasn't for science and social studies, I have no doubt that we would have had a C. So, social studies is not going to be tested this year, and so we're really trying to focus on the science part of that. On the overall student growth, which is that next little section there, in reading and math, we have had a D for student growth both years that I've been there, in both areas. And in the overall student growth, we had a 64 this last year, and the year before that a 67. So D's again on that, and prior to that were F's. The bottom percentile growth in reading, 4 years ago it started at a 23%, and then we've moved up to a 45%. And in math, from a 19 to a 48. So yes, it's still an F, but they have come a long way. They have shown lots of improvement. Also, my 2 years, we have got the 10 bonus points in attendance. It has been a long, hard fight to get those 10 points. And we barely made it by the skin of our nose. So we got it by rounding, needless to say, but we made it. So our final grade, these last 2 years are a D. Any questions so far? Okay. The next slide, I put facts. I have been the principal at Lincoln in the testing years of 2015, 2016. We have received the 10 bonus points both years. We have increased student achievement in math and reading. We've increased in student growth, and we have retained a large number of teachers. Prior to me being at Lincoln, I don't know the exact statistics, and I don't know that it matters, but I had been told that there had been, the year before I came, 17 people that left. That is a huge number in an elementary school, and so when I took the job, that was one of the things that I needed to work on, was to retain staff. So far, I think I can't remember, my first year, I think maybe it was like 3 teachers. They weren't all classroom teachers either, but it hasn't been above 3 since I've been there that have left. This is from last year's OCC testing data, put into a bar graph. You've got 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade listed. I've divided up in math the different areas of math. The green shows algebra, purple number sense and operations, yellow geometry, that kind of red color measurement, and purple well, the other kind of purple, data. 50% of the OCC tests in math in third, fourth, and fifth grade is number sense and operations. So that is what our main target for the teachers to focus on. In third grade, their weakness was measurement, and their strength was geometry. And in fourth grade, their strength was measurement, and their weakness was geometry. So those were kind of flip-flop, the opposites. And then in fifth grade, they did really good in geometry with an 81%. Let's see, data, they had almost a 70%. And the other two weren't too bad either. So, what are we doing in math? We're using research-based curriculum Envision Math, the Envision Math books, and that's what the district is using in elementary. The teachers this year, Terry had arranged for teachers to be trained in accelerated math. With all the new teachers in the district, a lot of them had not used accelerated math. So that training, that was a good thing. It was needed for them. The accelerated math also came out with a new program, Accelerated Math 2.0, and so none of the teachers in Ponca had been, in elementary anyway, had been trained in that. So they did receive that training. We benchmark assess using STAR data at the first of every month, the first 5 days. And we analyze that data after all the kids have been tested. We set goals. We administer common formative assessments and district assessments. And this data is used to see where our kids are and what are our teachers going to do to change their instruction so that we can get our kids to higher scores. The teachers have been through a lot of training on ST Math. We just finished one last Friday on our professional development day. It was very, very beneficial. It was kind of neat to see, instead of seeing kids with that aha moment, to see teachers with that aha moment. The ST Math is monitored weekly. The teachers get reports that I send to them about what progress their students have made. The kindergarten and first grade have 2 30-minute sessions a week, and second through fifth grade have 90 minutes a week, usually divided into 2 45-minute sessions, or depending on the teacher's schedule, it can be 3 30-minute sessions. And the training has been continual on that. We have the multiplication mastery group that is from the community that has worked with 24th graders. They just finished. They work on multiplication facts. They did it for 8 weeks. They just try to build those strong foundations for students in math. And we examine standards where the students are low according to last year OCCT results. I've had meetings with the teachers specifically, and we wrote out plans or they wrote out plans to what are they going to do to, like a pacing guide to get those kids where they need to be to improve our score better by the time testing comes around. STAR Math, I said this is one of the benchmark assessment that we use once a month. And I have it, so far we've only had it for 3 months, September, October, November. And if you just look in the very right-hand column, first grade in math started with the 62% proficient. Then when they tested again at 59%, now they're back to 62% proficient. In second grade, you started with the 43 to 48 to 58% proficient. Third grade, 54 to 61 to 66 proficient. Fourth grade, 71%, 75%, 73%. And in fifth grade, 65%, 67, and now they're up to 74% proficient. Excuse me. Now we're going to look at reading. Reading is not, I'm kind of opposite of Mrs. Cox at Garfield. Our math is really good, and our reading is not so great. From our OCT scores from last year, divided into the 4 areas: vocabulary, comprehension, literature, and then research and information. Third grade and, third, fourth, and fifth all scored in the 60, within the 60% range in there. The weakness in third and fourth grade, research and information. As a teacher that I've taught for 22 years or 23 years in Ponca City, research and information, I don't know why, has always been the lowest. I know as a teacher, I covered it very well, and it was always my lowest score also. Our librarian, who we have a full-time, wonderful librarian, Amy Hollingsworth, she is really working hard this year to try to boost up that research and information part of the test with our third, fourth, and fifth grade. Fifth grade they did a lot better than third and fourth grade in research. Literature was high in fifth, and they were even pretty much on everything else. In fourth grade, they were also high in literature, and in third grade, their high was vocabulary. So, anyway. What are we doing in reading? Well, we have new reading textbooks this year, Journeys. The teachers were trained on Journeys before school started, and we also use the same benchmark assessing at the first of every month and analyze the data. We set goals and administer common formative assessments and district assessments. We always are looking at assessments and seeing where does our instruction need to go from looking at the results. Again, we examined the weak standards from last year's OCCT test so that the teachers could, they are, like, let's say in math, the one that had the weakness in geometry. So that teacher of that grade level is throwing in geometry, not just during the time that they're teaching geometry in like third grade, but throughout the year. They're hitting it a little bit every day. So hopefully to try to put more emphasis on that and improve those. In reading, grades K through 2 have 45 minutes of intervention. That's for everyone. No matter what tier you are on, everyone goes to intervention. The third through fifth is a little bit different than that we departmentalize in third, fourth, and fifth, and they get approximately almost 3 hours of reading. They go to 2 reading teachers, and that time is split between the 2. The 2 reading teachers each have a focus. One of them uses the Journeys, and the other one focuses on many different things like using novels, focusing on grammar, writing, and things like that. We do have First Christian Church volunteers that come. Our instructional coach, she goes to the church every year and she trains them on close reading. And then they come and work one-on-one with third grade students. We have lots of reading challenges that come from our librarian that use many different AR goals.
I've got a question.
Yes.
The Journeys, you said you got the book, so does the other schools have the same book?
Yes.
Okay. So
But
that
they're
they
all
move, everybody got.
this year.
Everybody has them, okay.
This year, yes.
I wanted to make sure, I thought we would have done that, but that you didn't say anything about the Journey, so I was just curious to find out if all the schools were using the same. So if the kids are going from one school to another,
Yes.
they've done that, I want to make sure they're on the same page whenever they get
Yes.
to those things. Okay, thank you.
And math also.
Yeah.
Matt, okay, good.
This is just our star reading. Remember, our math was pretty good. Our reading is not. When you look at second grade, would they, at the very end, on the right-hand side, 33% proficient in September, then it goes to 34%, and second grade does go to 45%, little increase there. Third grade, 34%. In October, dropped to 25, and in November, back to 30. Fourth grade, 42% in September, and I'll just say at the end, in November, they scored it at 44% of students proficient. Fifth grade, 39, and then 37 in October, 32 in November. Don't know what's going on yet in fifth grade. That's what we're trying to figure out about why are they scoring, why has their scores dropped? Because they're doing a lot of reading. Kindergarten, these are the interesting ones. Kindergarten started 2% were proficient in September. And in October, 11%, and in November, 12% of those kids are proficient. So they've had one of the biggest gains, but they start so low. In our first grade has done great. There's 23% of kids were proficient in September, and now we're up to 59% proficient in reading. Here's the big one, attendance. I track attendance daily, personally, myself. The teacher, or in my memos every week, I put where each grade level is on attendance. In my opinion, attendance has everything to do with our scores. When you have an attendance problem this big, it has got to have an effect on your scores. Kindergarten, this was as of November the 4th, was the one, because when I had to turn this in, was at 92.8% attendance. First grade, 94.7%, second, 95.6%, third, 94.8%, fourth, 96.5%, fifth, 94.5%. We have an overall attendance right now at a 94.8%. You have to have a 94% to get your 10 bonus points on the state report card. So that's what I mean. We barely make it. We were sitting in the same position last year. I added some. As of that date of November 4th, we had 53 school contact days with children. Of those 53 days, we had 1,145 and a half absences out of a total of 22,317 total days. Of those 1,145 and a half days absent, 252 absences were from kindergarten. 226 and a half first, 170 and a half second, 196 third, 120 absences in fourth, and 180 and a half in fifth. So this is what I mean by attendance has a big part in our grade and what kids know. So what do we do about it at Lincoln? We've done things differently every year I've been there. We have to constantly change it up to keep kids, to try to keep them motivated to come to school. We do have a great big O trophy that we give out to a class who has the highest attendance every week on Monday. And they're announced in assembly, and they get to leave the assembly first. We have attendance buttons, like we made the campaign buttons for, well, that was something else. I'll get to that in a minute. We have attendance buttons that we wear. The staff wears them to try to promote attendance. We talk to parents every time they enter the building about attendance. Mrs. Mills and I do. We make lots of phone calls on a daily basis. This year we did start something new. We put parents' names in a drawing who have the 95% attendance. If a kid has 95% attendance or better in that 9 weeks, their parent's name gets in a drawing. And when we draw a name, that family gets a free meal for the whole family. We have lots of businesses that have given us those certificates for that. The kids who have 95% or better attendance each 9 weeks, McDonald's has agreed to serve them free ice cream. So we loaded them all on a bus all day, one day, and took them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth for ice cream. They had a blast. We had an attendance meeting with parents. We haven't done this yet, but we have found what we call an attendance contract to start meeting with some parents whose kids are chronically absent, to get them to maybe sign those contracts to understand why it's so important to be at school. This year we do use school-wide called Class Dojo for behavior, positive behavior reinforcement. Teachers are giving dojo points for kids who are at school on time. That they really care about that too. The kids do. It's important to them. We discuss it daily, like I said, in assembly. Mrs. Mills and I voiced our concern to Dr. Pennington about our attendance. He came over, met with us, and then that started off with Mrs. Vogel starting the citywide attendance campaign. We've got some signs out and talking to the public more, getting businesses on board and putting it on the radio and things like that. What is important at Lincoln? What is important is building positive relationships with kids. That's one of the number one things. Showing kids that we care, loving them, challenging them, holding them to high expectations as well as ourselves. In that I mean the staff. What are our goals? Might be really my personal goals too, but our goal at Lincoln is to continue to improve attendance because our academic performance is not going to improve much more if we can't improve attendance. Our goal at Lincoln is to improve academic performance, and this year we want the C. That's my presentation. Does anybody have a question?
I've got one quick comment. I'm shooting from memory, but your first slide, your raw final test score on the A to F or so went from like a 45 to a 65, which is tremendous over the last 3 years, and then
Yes.
65 to 63.
Yes, it was about 20%.
Am I reading too much into it that a lot of that was you stopped the hemorrhaging of teachers leaving and the fact that you
Oh.
have the same teachers now?
I definitely think so, and I think that a more positive culture was established in the building.
Yeah, because dropping 2 points is nothing between a 65 to a 63 from year 2 to year 3, but that 45 to 65 is, that's almost a 50% increase right there. That's pretty impressive.
Liz, when you talked, because you guys do have an attendance challenge, I mean, you do it at Garfield too, but I think at Lincoln it's more pronounced. And you've been working on this pretty hard for 2 years. When you talk to parents, what is it? I mean, is there 2 or 3 things that you can pinpoint? Or is it just different in every case?
And kindergarten is the most crucial, I think, because it is the highest attendance problem. It has been the highest attendance problem since I've been there. And we had one parent this year say, when they said they were pulling their kid out for something, and I don't remember what it was, but to me it was non-essential to pull them out. And they said, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just kindergarten. But kindergarten does matter, and that's where they're building these foundational skills. And a lot of them just don't think that it's important until, maybe they get that DA letter. We do work very closely with Tom Cusick, and he really helps us to push that. And I just wish that we could get parents to understand that it is important to be at school, no matter what age you are.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, thank you.